You're listening to the M-Advisor podcast. I'm Paul Morton, a certified financial planner professional, helping physicians make clearer decisions about money and life. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and M-Advisor are not affiliated. Welcome to the M-Advisor podcast. I'm Paul Morton. The M-Advisor podcast comes out on payday, the 15th and 30th of each month. Today, we're talking about benefits. So usually if you're working for a big hospital system, you have what's called a cafeteria plan where you go choose what benefits you do and don't want. If you run your own clinic or you work in a doctor's group, you may just have your benefits and you don't necessarily choose what benefits to add or not. But to those who are selecting their own benefits, you go on Workday or whatever HR software you have to log on to, and you pick and you choose what benefits you want and what level of benefits you want. Usually with my clients, I'll log on to a virtual meeting. Clients will share their screen and we'll select benefits together. And so we'll go one by one and select benefits. The value to that is that you would feel a little bit more confident in your benefit selection. And when I select benefits for ourselves through my wife's benefit selection, because she works at a big hospital, has all the choices, I don't look at the benefit selection individually. Like when we're selecting the health insurance or life insurance selections, we're not looking at those decisions independently. We're looking at those decisions as if they're decisions being made alongside all of the other decisions we've made in our financial plan. So same thing with any client. We're going to be looking at those decisions on how they fit in the bigger picture. So the first thing is when we select our benefits, I think the biggest mistake is that we independently select our benefits. We choose our health insurance just because of maybe the price. It might be we choose the most expensive health insurance thinking it's the best, or we might choose the least expensive health insurance thinking it's just the least expensive. So I want to go one by one on some of the more common benefits that are seen at hospital systems and just say a word or two about each benefit. Maybe I have time for all of them in this episode. We shall see. So first of all is the health insurance. And usually you'll have 1 to 2 options for health insurance. A lot of times it's just the health insurance is the health insurance. Back in the day, you had more choices. You would have like a PPO, which is going to be better than an HMO, but you would have both choices. And then you have the high deductible health plan, HDHP. And you would choose between a traditional health insurance plan, which is like a PPO, and a high deductible health plan, which basically has you front the first costs, your deductible of your health costs up to a certain level, maybe $7,000 before insurance really kicks in. And there's no right or wrong here. I think that you would look at your bank account. If you have a healthy bank account, you should not at all fear a high deductible health plan. If you are just getting started out of residency or fellowship and you really are unsure, there's nothing wrong with starting with a PPO before moving to the high deductible health plan. Or if you have some sort of health ailment that is somewhat expensive to treat, PPO is great. If you don't have that high deductible health plan is going to be a really good fit.
as long as you choose and fund and invest in the HSA. So you can only get to an HSA if you have a high deductible health plan. And HSA stands for Health Savings Account. And I'll put information on the show notes about the health savings accounts. Health savings accounts are fantastic. The biggest mistake when you choose the high deductible health plan is that you don't choose the HSA. And then the biggest mistake when you choose the HSA and you fund it, you max fund it, is that the funds don't get invested after it's funded. Those two mistakes are easy to fix, but they kind of have to be fixed at benefit time, at least purchasing the HSA or funding the HSA and then investing the HSA. You can do that anytime. You just log into your HSA account and make sure that those funds are invested. Next is the dental insurance. So you usually have like two options, a normal dental insurance plan and a more expensive, better dental insurance plan. Usually the primary difference, maybe there's a little bit higher rate of payment on some dental procedures, but the main difference is going to be orthodontics. So you'll have a higher lifetime payment in that more expensive dental plan than you would the regular dental plan. So if you or a child is going to either have braces put on in the next year or is likely going to be a braces candidate, that better dental insurance is fantastic because they're going to pay a little bit more for those braces. And how the dental insurance companies pay for braces is it is a one-time payment for the lifetime of that dependent or the insured. So if they pay $3,000 total for braces, they're only going to do that once. So if braces need to come into play later down the road, if you have braces put on, removed, and then put back on, then they'll only pay one time for that child. Now, if you have one child get braces and then the next year you have a different child to get braces, then they would both receive benefits from that dental insurance policy. And next is the vision insurance. And usually there's going to be a better and a best, or a good and a better. And there's likely going to be a little bit of difference between the two, but mainly the cost of vision insurance usually pays for the cost of a vision exam. So if you go to get your eyes checked once a year, usually that vision insurance then will likely be worth it, at least from a break-even standpoint. And then it's the purchasing of glasses and contacts. And that's where the vision insurance comes into play. So if you wear glasses and contacts, then the vision insurance usually makes sense. But if you're just going to get a vision exam every year and you want to make sure that you keep on track of how your eyes are changing, it may not necessarily make sense to have the vision insurance, because if you skip the vision exam for a year just because you get busy, you forgot, or you don't need it, then you're going to pay for vision insurance, not get the vision exam, and it's just going to be a waste of your $10 once a paycheck, so twice a month. So your $20 a month is going to just be thrown out the window with your vision insurance. So just take inventory of, do I wear glasses or contacts? And then do I want to buy new glasses and contacts on a regular basis? If the answer is yes to both those questions, vision insurance probably makes sense for you and your dependents. Next is the disability insurance. And the disability insurance, as far as a group benefit, in my opinion, is going to be one of the more important and impactful group benefits that will exist in your benefit package. And a lot of hospital systems are now paying for some or all of your disability insurance, long-term disability insurance more specifically. And then the short-term disability insurance a lot of times falls on you as the employee to choose or not choose. But that long-term disability insurance, 9 times out of 10, I love it. What I do like to do is try to get a copy of that long-term disability insurance plan. Your HR professional can usually obtain that for you. You just want to make sure that your disability insurance policy, and I've only seen this a few times, but you want to make sure that your disability insurance policy through work isn't going to be offset by, quote, other income or, quote, other unearned income. So if you have rental property, that could fall under there. Or if you have outside disability insurance that you own personally, then your group disability policy will be offset by other income. And that's not a great thing. So typically there's not going to be a reason to say no to your group LTD, your long-term disability insurance. Usually you'll say, yes, I want that, because it usually stacks on top of your group disability or your personal insurance. And how the disability insurance works, it doesn't matter if this is personal or group disability insurance, but if the premium is deducted, then the benefits will be taxable as income. And the inverse is, if the premium is paid with after-tax dollars, then the benefit is going to be income tax-free to you. So when you choose your disability insurance at work, you oftentimes get to choose if you want to pay for it with pre-tax dollars, tax deductible, or after-tax dollars. And I like the idea of foregoing the small benefit of that $50 a month of cost, which would provide a very minimal tax deduction, and having the huge benefit of receiving anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 of monthly income should you get sick or hurt on a tax-free basis for the entirety of that claim. If you deduct the premium, then the full claim, if that claim lasts 20 years, then you're going to have to pay taxes for the next 20 years. You can't undo that if you get claimed in a year where you are paying for disability insurance benefits on an after-tax basis. If your employer pays the premium, they are deducting the premium, so the benefit will be taxable to you. Just know that and understand that. And if you can, secure your own personal disability insurance to go along with that, to help with that taxable wage coming in from that disability insurance should you get sick or hurt. Now, the short-term disability insurance is kind of like, let's call it the first couple years of being an attending disability insurance. So that's going to pay for like the first 90 to 180 days of getting sick or hurt. And it will pay usually at the same or similar rate to your group long-term disability insurance. And that is there if you don't quite yet have a healthy bank account. Maybe you don't have investments set up, and you don't have access to cash to float you 90 to 180 days without an income. And once you reach that spot where 180 days of no income isn't scary, then you can self-insure for that short-term disability plan. Short-term disability insurance is oftentimes a lot more expensive than long-term disability insurance because it's going to be used much more often. And so then you can save somewhere between $60 to $100 a month or more sometimes by foregoing that short-term disability insurance. But if you have low liquidity, you don't have a big bank account yet, you don't have your investments set up yet that are not part of qualified retirement plans, then that short-term disability insurance cost may be well worth it, because if you get sick or you get hurt you might not be able to last 90 to 180 days without a paycheck. So that's some inventory on your own financial livelihood that you need to assess when you make that decision. Next is going to be life insurance. So the life insurance that you purchase through your group is likely, if you are healthy and able to obtain life insurance, the group life insurance plan is likely more expensive than an individual life insurance plan. The group life insurance plan works much like the social security system, where the younger participants in Social Security are paying for the older participants in Social Security. The same thing with group life insurance. So group life insurance, the younger people who purchase group life insurance, that's not provided by your employer. If something's provided by your employer, that's great. Anything above that, you usually get charged a little bit extra in premium. And so it's going to be more expensive to buy life insurance through your employer because you're funding the experience of that claim through that employer for those older people. So those older people will have maybe a little bit more affordable life insurance-ish, but younger individuals, 30, 40, 50 years old, will have higher premiums than if they were to go just get their own individual 20-year term policy. Also, what I don't like about the group life insurance is that your life insurance benefit now is dependent on your employer. You only have that policy, you only have that life insurance policy while you're employed. If you switch employers or you get terminated for one reason or another, you don't have life insurance anymore. And to me, that doesn't make sense. I like to have control over my own life insurance, and it doesn't matter if I'm employed or not employed by a certain hospital system. So if you don't have your own life insurance and you're buying additional life insurance from your employer on a year after year basis, then it might make sense just to go get some quotes on an individual life insurance policy. Just get like a 20-year level term and see how that premium is and compare it to your own premium. Now, where a lot of people make mistakes on comparing benefits is they'll look at the cost of the benefit and the cost of like a monthly premium for life insurance, but they won't put the cost of the benefit in perspective because the cost of the benefit is per paycheck. And a lot of times we're getting paid twice a month. So you need to then double what the benefit cost looks like to get to that monthly cost based on frequency. And then next is one of my least favorite benefits of all time, and that's the AD&D, the accidental death and dismemberment, which is, in my opinion, really kind of a weird thing to think about to buy benefits for. But you have life insurance if you die in any way, shape, or form. If you're dead, life insurance is there. And then you have disability insurance if you get sick or you get hurt. The AD&D plans are kind of this weird thing. Well, if you die in a certain way, if it's a freak accident, then we'll pay, but not if you die of natural causes. And then if you get disabled due to like some freak accident for like you get dismembered, then we'll pay for a disability, but not if you get like cancer or something like that. So I really don't like the AD&D. I think it's a little superfluous because you already have life insurance theoretically, and you already have disability insurance theoretically. And so it's like this gray area where it's kind of like life insurance and kind of like disability insurance, but it's full of all of these what if technicalities. And the way I see it is that it's not going to pay a claim anyway. So if you buy additional AD&D beyond what your employer provides you for free at no cost, then I think it's kind of a little bit of a waste. So that's my thought on that. And then lastly is the critical illness. So what is critical illness? Critical illness is an insurance policy where if you get diagnosed with a laundry list of ailments, it could be like cancer, it could be some sort of heart disease or heart attack or stroke or whatever. There will be a list of the ailments for that critical illness policy that you can get from your HR professional. And if you get diagnosed with one of those, then you receive a lump sum, a one-time lump sum of the amount of critical illness that you choose. And usually that's like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, etc. Whatever you've purchased for a critical illness, that's going to be your lump sum. And I look at critical illness about like short-term disability insurance. If you had to step away from work for a short period of time, would that be devastating? If the answer is yes, then critical illness might be a good thing to purchase, maybe even on the smaller end, just to hedge that a little bit. But if you could step away from work because you've done a good job of saving and managing your expenses, if you could step away from work for like, let's call it, 6 months or so, and you're okay, then I think you could probably forego critical illness. If the spousal critical illness is available, what I actually really like to position critical illness as is a stay-at-home spouse disability plan. So if you have a spouse who's a stay-at-home spouse and they're not earning income, but they get sick or hurt, then you have a one-time lump sum of influx of capital for them to just help with the things that you're going to need help with that stay-at-home spouse usually did for you. So it would be kind of a help with transitioning from a healthy, independent stay-at-home spouse to maybe a less healthy, less independent stay-at-home spouse. So I like to look at critical illness as kind of like a non-working spouse disability plan, so to speak. And there you have it. That is, from top to bottom, a lot of, maybe not all of, but a lot of the benefits that we see in the hospital system, and just a little bit of information about each one. So I really hope this was helpful. And so each time when you enroll in benefits, some of these general, let's call it my opinions on these benefits, might be helpful to put these in your situation as a whole. But when you enroll in benefits, I think it's important to be prepared and just take a look at I like to keep a balance sheet. Take a look at your balance sheet or your financial plan before or while you're enrolling so that you can put the benefits and the selections you're making in those benefits in the right perspective and really in the right place. And then finally, one last thing is once you enroll in your benefits, you usually get a document that has a summary of your benefits. Save that document to your computer or email it to yourself. Put it in the right folder, in a benefits or insurance folder, so you can recall what you chose, and put it in whatever folder you usually keep with the rest of your financial planning documents. Thank you for listening. I'm Paul Morton with M-Advisor. M-Advisor helps physicians with their financial planning. You can visit m-advisor.com for more information. And you are listening to the M-Advisor podcast.